Welcome back to the Kind of Funny screencast. Of course, I'm Tim Geddes, and I'm joined by the big dog, Kevin Coelho, wearing some new, fresh, kind of funny merch.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Look
Also,
at
I just had a sip of old water. Not great.
How old?
Just from yesterday. But that's enough,
fine.
you know?
It's fine.
That's enough.
Does it have little bubbles
good.
in it? We're like, where those bubbles come from?
No
Kevin
little
knows where the
bubbles.
bubbles come from. Kevin, where do the bubbles come from when water sits around like that?
I don't
Stagnation?
know. I don't know. No,
Is
I
that
don't
the birth
think
of
so.
a mosquito?
Of course, that voice is the one and only Greg Miller.
We've had so much rain in San Francisco. I got this big old flower pot out there filled to the brim with water, and I was breeding mosquitoes, but then it got cold and it killed them. But I haven't looked again. Who knows what's
Why
happening?
don't you
out
tip
there.
it over? Add a hole
Dude,
at the bottom.
it's one of you're under Kevin, and this is if I'm lying, I'm dying. It's like half your size, and it's made of like ceramic. If I tip it over, it's just gonna smash. I thought about getting. I told Jen what I wanted to do is get a hose and do the thing like I'm sucking gasoline out of a gas
Siphon?
tank.
You want to siphon?
I'm like it's gonna be a gamble. Can I get away?
No,
from it?
you can see it. It's a clear tube. You'll be able to see it.
No, I only have garden hoses and stuff. You know?
Yeah, you gotta
Okay.
run a gamble.
Alright,
You
yeah.
gotta gamble your life away. Put a blindfold on too. See what happens.
It's one of those projects where you're like, man, all the options I can think of are bad, so I'm not gonna do any of them. It's just there.
Just get a
Wear
diamond
sound isolating
pit.
headphones so you can't hear it either.
Producer/producer Nick Scarpino, how do you
Oh,
feel
this is
about the
already
birth
great.
of mosquitoes?
This is already a great podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for having me on.
And rounding out the crew is in some fresh Nitro Rifle merch, the one and only Andy Cortez.
Great morning. Do I have to go to your place, Tim, to get the kind of funny merch, or what's
The kind
maybe
of funny merch is
maybe
at my
Joey will
house.
ship it to me in 2 years. Tim.
Here's what,
Who knows?
Andy. Here's the thing. I yelled at Jen yesterday. We're going to Tim's garage this weekend. To get to Tim's garage, I have to go by your place, so I could pick it up and bring it back.
Oh yeah. Large hoodie, medium shirt.
No, then you're
Sure.
giving him access to your area. You know what I mean? That's dangerous.
Oh fuck, that's so true, Kevin.
You know what, everyone? This is not the Kind of Funny podcast, surprisingly. This is the Kind of Funny screencast where each and every week we get together to review the latest in TV, movies, and movie trailers. We do the show multiple times a week, sometimes including the next couple weeks where we are doing reviews for The Book of Boba Fett and for DC's Peacemaker, which you're watching right now. You can get the show on youtube.com/kindoffunny or roosterteeth.com. If you want it as a podcast, you just got to go to your favorite podcast service, search for Kind of Funny Screencast, and we'll be right there for you. If you wanted to get the show ad-free, and if you want to watch live as we record it, you got to go to patreon.com/kindoffunny, and you can do that just like our Patreon producers, Molecule, at James Davis Makes, and Pranksy have done. We appreciate you all so very, very much. Today, we're brought to you by MeUndies, DoorDash, and Chime, but we'll get to all that later. I did want to let you guys know that we have a new thing that you don't need to be a Patreon person for. Anybody listening to this can write in to kindoffunny.com/screencast to write in your questions, your comments, your theories about any of the shows we're watching, any of the trailers that you expect that we're going to react to. When you watch them, write your stuff in, and we'll talk about that stuff on the show. Thank you so much for all of that. But without further ado, I want to talk about James Gunn's Peacemaker on HBO Max. Nick Scarpino, I want to start with you.
I think this show might be my new obsession. This is one of those things where if there were more episodes, if we were like doing the whole thing, like just the whole season all at once, like we've done some other shows, I would not have stopped watching these episodes. I would have just kept going and just completely on this. This show is completely bonkers, completely inappropriate. And it's one of those things where when I watched the trailer, there was some comedy that didn't hit. And of course, it's James Gunn, right? James Gunn, we all know with the comedy goes with the shotgun mentality. Let's just blast out the jokes and see which ones stick. And when we watched the trailer, I was like, some of these jokes aren't hitting for me. But what I realized about, 5 minutes into the first episode was I was like, they can't put the jokes in the trailer for this. Because every joke that's funny is unbelievably inappropriate and completely wacky and just out there and like rated R.
Aquaman fucks fish. No, he doesn't. Why would whatever his name 89 with a Pepe the Frog lie to me?
Yeah,
I refuse to believe he's lying to me. Yeah.
And shout out to John Cena, because like he's just, he's one of those guys, we talked about it, right? Like John Hamm and a bunch of other actors out there that try to be serious or action or whatever and are just comedic actors. And I think he's a perfect combination of I think he's accepted that. He understands how he comes off. And a lot of his line deliveries are they're not great, but they're perfect for the role. Does that make sense? Like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think
They're
that I
so
think that
perfect.
James Gunn got the takes and was like, no, don't even try it again. That was first take was perfect. Let's rock and roll on this one.
Like, I was just reading. He's like, nah,
Yeah,
I'm done.
you're good. You're golden. And just chewing up scenery, just loving the role. You can tell he's just made this his own, and he's thrown himself 100% into this, and just jacked out of his gourd for the scenes where he's
Outrageous.
That was that one scene where he's sitting in his underwear and he's talking. And there's just so many veins everywhere. There's veins everywhere.
There's the one
He's
that's
so
going
dehydrated.
from here all the way
It's just
down.
all
It
the way
jumps
down.
from the hand to the thigh.
But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think all the supporting cast is great. I want to give a shout out to the guy that plays McNabb on Psych. He's in this as well. He was with one of the bodyguards. And Judo Master might be the best fucking thing
I knew you were gonna love Judo Master.
ever
man.
put on TV ever.
Kia! What does
It's great.
Kia mean?
But you know, I've had issues with some of the supporting cast for some of the Marvel shows where I'm like, they're just not up to snuff with the leads. But I think everyone, including Jason Patrick and everyone across the board here, is just really fun. Robert Patrick, excuse me. And I will say, like I was talking to Tim last night, I was like, the highest accolade I can pay this is it feels like it's 90% an HBO show and 10% an HBO Max original. And that, I think, to me, as far as production values and as far as how everything came together, I think that's a pretty good mark to hit.
Andy Cortez.
I like this show, and I'm sad I don't love this show. I think episode 1 ended, and I was like, fuck, this is perfect. This is exactly what I wanted it to be. I absolutely love John Cena. I think he's doing incredibly well. Every time he's on screen, he's always stealing the show for me, and he's like definitely like, damn, he's really killing it, which I didn't think I was going to feel that way going into it. I just never loved that supporting cast from the Suicide Squad movie. And I really only like Danielle Brooks as Leota Adebayo. I feel like she's probably my favorite of that sort of crew that they're rolling with. But I just never loved the characters in the Suicide Squad movie, and they're featured a lot in here, and they just don't hit as much as I would love, as I would like them to. I am still super, just really, really interested in the actual story and what's happening and the mystery and finding out about what the butterflies are, and all that shit is just really captivating and awesome to see. So that's definitely what's keeping me going for the most part. When Nick mentions the James Gunn shotgun mentality, for me, it's like those shotguns usually hit with like a 95% clip. Like Guardians 1 and 2 are flawless for me. I loved Suicide Squad a lot, but I feel like it's missing a bit more here. And I wonder if maybe those jokes would land if there was different casting, if there were different characters and different actors portraying these roles. Judo Master, absolutely fantastic. That's a great moment, and I just laughed at any time
Hot Cheetos.
the hot Cheetos, like it's so stupid. And that's one thing I love about James Gunn. He'll always. I feel like James Gunn has the freedom to just introduce a stupid ass element because he probably laughed about it with his friends on set and said, "Yeah, we should absolutely do that." And I really, really like this show. I want to love it, and I hope that the rest of the show, maybe I get used to the cast, and maybe I start to enjoy them more and more as it goes on. But so far, I'm like, all right, I like it. I just want to really dig it, like I feel like everybody else here will.
Greg Miller.
I wasn't super stoked. Like, I love James Gunn, so I knew I would like this. I liked Suicide Squad. I enjoyed Suicide Squad, right? And John Cena was funny in that. And I think John Cena's been funny in a number of things. And in episode 1, when we got to the bar scene and then got back to the girl's apartment, I was in love, and it's never stopped. I was already enjoying myself in the show, but that's where it turned the corner where I was like, this is fucking awesome. And to have it end the way it ends with him putting on the helmet and doing the shot Sonic Boom, like I was like, this was so good. And I think I'm right there with Nick where, you know, I actually stopped and had to do other stuff. And then I came back to it hours later last night to watch it. And it was such a night and day thing of the first time of getting going. All right, what's the pace of the show, to where I watched episode 2 and it was like over. And I was like, fuck, that was, and I looked and I was like, that was 40 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm like, I was going to watch episode 3 this morning. I was like, I got to get right back to episode 3. Like, the show's great. I'm with Andy that in the Suicide Squad movie, the supporting cast, I wasn't really feeling of, you know, the bookworms at home, right? Like with all the weird last names, which I'm so glad they was it Peacemaker calls it. Why do you all have such weird last names? But the what is
Economos.
it? John Economos. Thank you. I'm looking at the thing here. And Amelia Harcourt. Like, I actually went back and watched a little bit of Suicide Squad last night. And I was like, yeah, I wasn't feeling them there. I think they shine in this show. And I think the way they get to interact and we get to spend time with them and go with them works so well for it. And seeing the Amelia character, right, in the bar, talk shit immediately to Peacemaker, right, fight the guy, get out of there. And then when she gets the call that everything went bad and she marches out of there to go, like, I really like it, let alone the fact that Danielle Brooks, who played Tasty in Orange is the New Black, is here as Leota, right? And I think she's so fucking good.
Great.
And like even the chemistry she had with John Cena when she comes out, is any eagle in your car? Yeah, it's Eagly. Come on over. Is he me? Does he like people?
Is he friendly?
I wrote it down. Is he friendly? And then he's like, oh, I thought you meant friendly to me. Like that entire fucking scene, I was like, holy
but
shit.
then later where he's like, he's like, I trust you. Why? Because Eagly likes you. He bit me. Yeah, but he didn't bite you as hard as he bites everyone else.
Yeah.
Kevin.
Yeah, I kind of came into it a little bit worried just because the humor can be a bit much. But man, I think from the intro rolling, I was like, oh man, this like here are a bunch of characters that we don't know yet. Like it ends with Judo or Master. What's his name? On top of him. Judo Master on top of him.
It's the most bizarre choice, Kevin.
But I love it.
I love it.
It's the most bizarre choice, and it works.
And the fact that it's just the old man from next door. He's got a feature role, and all he's done is cut shrubs and been told to fuck off. I'm like, yes.
I think that it's like just so perfectly cast. I also am not a huge fan of the team that they have, but I feel like Tasty is good. I like that the reveal of what's her face being her mom?
Amanda Waller.
Viola thank you very
Davis.
much. Yeah, Viola Davis. Thank you. That I thought was a big moment that like put things make more sense.
It was definitely like moment.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know that it needed to be, but like whatever. I was into it. And also it kind of makes me like think that like, okay, this isn't just like a squad that's gonna die, right? Like they have some value. They're probably gonna do something cool. But yeah, I am loving every aspect of it. I think that what Vigilante's character, before it's revealed who he is, that was like there's something about the way that he uses his body to emote and stuff that I think was so good. And I love when there's characters where all you see is just their suits. There's no emoting, and they can still translate what they're feeling through that. Yeah, Nick.
I was gonna say, like, I normally don't love that, but in this, it makes I don't love whenever the suits aren't like movie level and you're just looking at them for a really, really long time. But there's something about the vibe that they cultivated in this with like riffing off of sort of what you're saying about not necessarily loving the supporting cast and kind of feeling like they're not you didn't want to see more of them. That's kind of the vibe of this show. Is all of these people are sort of are like the expendables that they've cast aside to like throw into this group of outcasts.
And just put that in context. They're the expendables from the Suicide
Squad.
Yeah.
So like they're the worst of the worst, and Vigilante I think is so perfect because his costume, like, yeah, it looks good. Don't get me wrong, but
it looks amazing. Vigilante's costume, I want that fucking costume. It is so damn cool. If I was a superhero, that's my suit.
His
but
like
it looks,
twitches.
but it looks like kind of like cosplay, you know, like that. And that's
think it
what
looks
I like
cool.
about it.
I think that looks so cool, but I think with him, there's something about the way he like is constantly moving. Whenever he's talking, he's like, and it like works so well with the characters. And I find that like there's so many moments where we see that where like John Cena he'll be saying something, and like I think John Cena is a phenomenal actor, and I think that later on in the season, I'm gonna guess we're gonna get some really like intense scenes because like they're setting up a bunch of stuff with the dad and stuff, and we have moments where he says something to his dad, and we see John Cena like totally break and like you know, and he's doing that really well. Over the last like year and a half, I think I've gained a lot of respect for John Cena because he's like, but like he's comedically a phenomenal actor. Like he has this ridiculous body that he uses in the most like hilarious of ways. Like him going down the balcony.
patio,
It
the
shouldn't
balcony.
have been funny the fifth
It
time,
really shouldn't
but
have
it
been
was.
funny.
It
was
was.
hilarious.
Psyching himself up to do it and tossing his stupid bag of stolen records.
It's so
His
good.
shoulder, like every time.
Yeah, every time.
The fact that like I mean we're also obviously in the spoiler territory here, but like I will say like I was surprised and very very happy that they found that kind of emotional core to the character, right? Because for the most part he's just this like total douchebag bravado, like fake bravado guy, right? But then when he gets up against his dad, you see that melt away. So that was a great scene with him where he's like the only thing his dad liked about the story that he told was that some kid got tortured by his dad, but then he goes, well, tell me that guy's not the guy that shot you. And he goes, I can't tell you everything about Quartermaster. You know, it's classified. But then we
I
have
love that he also
wonderful
doesn't
scene.
lie. to his
No,
dad.
he can't lie to him.
Yeah.
But then we have that wonderful scene where he goes home and he breaks down and starts crying. And he's like, Dyedbeard would be your friend, but you keep pushing him away. Like he could be your. And I was like, God, that's a really good, like, touching scene. And then, of course, Vigilante is there. And that joke just goes on way too long.
Way too
No,
long.
no, it goes on.
That
I love
joke is-
it.
that's the
For me,
thing.
it's one of those jokes that goes on too long, but then
So
the longer you go, I'm like, all right, I'm back in.
It
I'm back
circles
in.
back. It's like, just
Oh, God.
look. There's nothing. There's no dick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at my crotch. My dick's not out.
Yeah. that's it.
But I like this because I think this is I think the whole show is a really good combination of like The Boys and The Tick. And if you've never seen The Tick,
Yeah.
like it gives me this kind of vibe where it's like anything can happen. It's weird
Yeah.
as shit. It's a bunch of characters you don't really know or have any touchstones for. But it's working, and John Cena's killing it, man. It's
Yeah.
a fun show.
There's one more scene I want to talk about that I really liked. That like blows me away because I shouldn't like feel as much as I do. But the scene where Vigilante comes in and essentially does the assassinating, the way they timed it and paced it, where it's like Vigilante's like just the back and forth of like I'll do it,
He goes,
and
"Hey,
him
big
going
guy."
there.
Yeah,
Huh?
he's and it was a
Yeah,
10.
yeah.
You're talking about when with the sniper rifle?
Yeah.
Yeah, he has that. It's actually like this is what I think is good about the show. He has that tender moment where he's like, "Hey man, hey big guy, why don't you step aside for a second?"
Yep.
And then just gets in there and just fucking eats their lunch.
Humming
But I mean,
along.
he also doesn't do it quickly. Like he's like, and then like the girl's calling out what's going on, and it still takes him a second. Like he could have gone in there and done it all quickly, but like it's still like you kind of get the sense that it wasn't easy for him either.
Oh no, I think I got the sense that it was super easy for him. That
Oh, he was
enjoyed the shit
humming.
out of it, and he
was
loved
having
it.
fun.
But what I think was funny about that is he's obviously a psychopath, and he talked about how he loves killing people.
Yeah.
But he is actually he has affection for Peacemaker, and it was a touching moment where he's like, "Hey, I know you can't kill this kid. I'll kill him for you." And then it's a quick twist where it's like, oh no, he just enjoys killing these people. Like he really likes it, but he's still doing his friend a solid, which I thought was nice. And then John
Yeah.
Cena's like having a panic attack in the corner because he can't kill anyone anymore.
I-
And the
well,
dove of peace wasn't written.
I love
wasn't
the
drawn
Dove of
co-
Peace.
It's
I love that it
like,
has a
sorry, Dove
name
of Peace.
too, Dove of Peace. Like
The dove of fucking peace. I'm right there with all you guys. I am absolutely loving the show a lot. Like, again, going into a Peacemaker show, an entire series on HBO, it's like this seems unnecessary. And the moment you start watching it, it's like, no, this is so necessary. It has its own place. It's not The Boys. It's not The Tick. It's not any of the Disney Plus Marvel shows we've seen. Like, it is very much its own thing, and that thing is just unadulterated, just pure James Gunn.
Yeah.
And you watch
Unfiltered.
this for 5 minutes and you're just like,
Unrestrained.
this is why he got fired from Disney. Like, this makes so much sense. And like, what a world we live in that resulted in this, because this just allows him to go all out, and he's still doing Guardians 3. Like, that's kind of best case scenario for me, because I'm really enjoying the show on a lot of levels. It's making me laugh constantly. It is the shotgun approach. And I would say that for the most things are hitting for me, and they hit very hard. And that's very surprising, because this show feels like moment to moment like a 20-minute comedy series, but it's an hour long. But like Greg was saying, it doesn't feel an hour long. And I think it's because it is backed up by a compelling story, like Andy was talking about, where I am interested in what's going on with these butterflies, who they are, what's happening. And I think it's cool, and it's a little bit kind of nice to not be that familiar at all with so many of these characters and storylines that I don't know what the comics, where they go. Like, I don't even know where to begin to look for that information. So it's just kind of fun to be along for the ride. And James Gunn cares. And I just love when you can tell somebody cares when they're creating something with us, and it doesn't just feel like content. Like every character like has heart and soul and all that stuff. I do think that it is inappropriate. Like so much of the comedy is funny because it's inappropriate.
Yeah.
And I think that there has to be some type of redemption moment because
there will be.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Because it feels a lot. Like, I don't even want to say a bit much. It's a lot. And it's like in every single way where it's not just one character or two characters. Like, it's most of the characters. And so I'm just kind of interested in how long that's going to last and when that turning point is going to happen and what it's going to look like. But I am with most of the people here where the characters that are from Suicide Squad that are in this movie, when they were in the movie, it kind of felt like, oh man, this feels like a spin-off show that they're clearly trying to plan. And
clearly trying to
this
make,
stuff. I don't get that vibe from them at all in this. I really like it. I feel like the dyebeard dude is used just the right amount because he probably is the weakest link for me. But I don't think that he's doing a bad job at all. Like, he makes me laugh. Like, everyone makes me laugh. And in a show that is supposed to be a comedy and is a superhero comedy, like, it's achieving it on every single level. And I'm very, very impressed.
I'm curious to see if for me, absolutely great. Tim, I agree with you. And I think just going forward, I really like the action in this. I feel like the scenes are shot well. I feel like there's a good amount of production value behind that, and the energy's there. I'm curious to see what happens because did James Gunn do all of them, or did he just do the first 3?
Oh, he did them all.
He did them all.
Oh,
and
wow. Okay.
Before we continue talking, though, let me tell you about our sponsors.
Guess what I use all the time, ladies and gentlemen? DoorDash. That's right. I come down here, I record the shows, I come upstairs, Jen's taking care of our newborn, is a 3-month-old, our 3-month-old, and guess what? We're both too tired to make food, so we order on DoorDash. We do it all the time, and you should too. You've got back-to-back meetings, errands to run, and chores to take care of. What's the secret to clearing your to-do list? A little help from DoorDash. Along with the restaurants you love, you can now get groceries and other essential items delivered to your door with DoorDash. Get drinks, snacks, and other household items in under an hour. With over 300,000 partners, you can support your neighborhood go-tos. Choose from your favorite national chains like Popeyes, Chipotle, and Cheesecake Factory. For a limited time, our listeners can get 25% off and 0 delivery fees on their first order of $15 or more when they download the DoorDash app and enter the code GAMES2021. That's 25% off, up to a $10 value, and 0 delivery fees on your first order when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store and enter the code GAMES2021. Don't forget, that code is GAMES2021 for 25% off your first order with DoorDash, subject to change. Terms apply. Kick off 2022 with a better checking account with no monthly fees, no overdraft fees, no foreign transaction fees, and no service fees. Get all that and then some with Chime, an award-winning app and debit card. They've also got over 60,000 fee-free in-network ATMs all over the place, like at most Walgreens, 7-Elevens, or CVS's. You can access your money when you need it, where you need it. Make sure you make the first good decision of the new year and join over 10 million people using Chime. Sign up takes only 2 minutes and doesn't affect your credit score. Get started at chime.com/KFgames. That's chime.com/KFgames. Banking services provided by and debit card issued by Bancorp Bank or Stride Bank NA, members FDIC. Get fee-free transactions at a Money Pass ATM in a 7-Eleven location and at any Allpoint or Visa Plus Alliance ATM. Otherwise, out-of-network ATM withdrawal fees may apply. Sometimes pay anyone instant transfers can be delayed. The recipient must use a valid debit card or be a Chime member to claim funds. Relationships aren't perfect, and MeUndies is celebrating our imperfectly perfect matches with their new Valentine's Day collection. I don't have to read the ad anymore. I can just tell you I'm wearing MeUndies, ladies and gentlemen. Always have been, always will. Not always, I guess. But what happened is I had a bunch of underwear I didn't like that much, and then I tried a couple pairs of MeUndies, and I was like, these are amazing, and I ordered a whole bunch of MeUndies, and now it's all I wear, and I am due for more. Maybe I'll do it here. Back to the ad. Gifting underwear for Valentine's Day? Wow, real groundbreaking. Express your one-of-a-kind relationship when you match your bottom half to your better half in fun limited edition prints. And if you're single, don't worry, you can mingle in matching pairs with your friends or even get dog hoodies and buddy bands to match your four-legged pal. MeUndies has a great offer for our listeners. For a limited time only, get 25% off your first order of matching pairs for Valentine's Day. And as a first-time purchaser, you can also get 15% off and free shipping right now to your door. To get 25% off matching pairs, 15% off your first order, free shipping, and a 100% satisfaction guarantee, go to MeUndies.com/KindaFunny. That's MeUndies.com/KindaFunny.
Yeah,
That makes me happy. That makes me happy because the first 3 episodes were pretty seamless as far as all that was concerned. And like the scene where Judo Master comes in and kicks the shit out of everyone, and Vigilante's like, no, you won.
Yeah,
you won.
Yeah,
like,
fair fight,
I'm
fair
done.
fight.
I'm over.
Yeah.
Fair fight. You're good. And then, oh god, just
Even the
fact
scene that follows that, where the former
torture.
Secret Service agent is held at gunpoint and Tasty. Oh, I'm sorry, Leota. I'm gonna call her Tasty the rest of the show. Can't shoot, right?
Yeah.
Like I just love his performance, right? Of being
McNabb.
like, whoa, listen,
see
and
shit.
he goes into the family, like, oh my god, it gets so serious all of a sudden.
I thought we were really gonna get a Rick and Morty moment there, Kevin, of the headshot going off, and it turned out he was an alien. That sort of bit where they in Rick and Morty episode where there was a bunch of imposters around them, and they're kind of like, "Wait, you're not actually from my past." I thought we were gonna get a moment there, and no, they just straight up killed a
Yeah,
that was-
bodyguard.
but what I like about that is like is no joke. Like that was a moment, right, where Hardcore like kills him, and you feel bad. You're like, oh, these are bad people. I forgot. This is an assassination squad, and you felt it in that moment.
Yeah.
But then, of course, it was punctuated immediately by cutting over and having Judo Master flicking flaming hot Cheetos at John Cena's face. Like, what are they putting Cheetos these days?
Well,
John Cena,
then
John Cena's just such a gift, and it's the physical comedy. Like Kevin said, like he just uses his body so well, but it's just like he not only uses his body well to just be funny. His costume, his lack of costume. Like, I love how stupid his costume is and how they use that to great effect. But then he's in his underwear for half the show.
Yeah.
And then he's in his underwear with the helmet. And it's just like every fucking choice they make is so
They're
funny
so
when it
good.
comes to John Cena's presentation and the way he moves, the amount of dance scenes he has. Like, I love that the show starts, you get that intro, and you're like, okay, we know exactly what we're in for, and it just keeps delivering. And I love that, like, every time there's any chance to play music, James Gunn finds a way, and he makes
all the
it
time.
relevant with the themes, with the tones, with the vibe. It's always funny, it's always clever, it's well choreographed. I'm like, damn, man, like, I can't believe we're getting a show that's a sequel to the Suicide Squad movie. There was a reboot sequel to a bad Suicide Squad movie
Terrible.
from the dude that made PG porno back in the fucking early 2000s. Like, all of this should not have lined up to be here, but I'm so happy that it did. Andy Cortez.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And his sort of James Gunn's just use of the art and the shots being used and the music being used. He just has such a great sense of style and what looks good on screen and what feels good to watch. And he's absolutely nailing that on all fronts. I'd say like that accompanied with John Cena being so strong as Peacemaker. Like, I think I would love this show a lot more if this were like The Mandalorian and it were just John Cena kind of, almost monster of the week, encountering a new group of people that he had to sort of act opposite of. And I think it's a lot of his just demeanor. John Cena is playing such a great himbo. He's an absolute idiot. And I love how the characters point out, like, yeah, he's probably racist. He's really misogynist. He's, not a good dude, but there's a part of him that plays such a great kind of like, I'm trying to be better, and
Yeah,
I
well,
know I
that's what-
want to be better.
it's
And
what
I
it's
got
they've done
40
to make-
gigs of alliance.
it's so
It's what
earnest.
they've done to make him endearing, right? Where Suicide Squad was this thing that he was funny and like, oh, I thought you were the crazy one, right? When he's like, I kill everybody to make peace or whatever. And then at the end, he flips on Flag, and we're like, oh, he fucking sucks, blah, blah, blah. And so to say then, I remember when we knew he was getting a show, then you're like, oh, that's a weird note to end on. So I think it's so powerful that they come here and introduce Robert Patrick as his dad.
Yeah.
And you get in there and he's dropping racial slurs and all sorts of slurs and being a horrible person. You're like, oh, this is why he's like that. And yet you do see him trying to be good in his own way, but not like he can't because of his upbringing, right? And even the way his dad pushes back on him, all these different things. The only thing you can get him to be happy about is, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, but you get the sense that he has all those things around him as like guard, because that's how he thinks he needs to act around his dad. But he doesn't John Cena does a good job, and the writing does a good job of. He's very conflicted about that stuff because that stuff's just sort of the armor he's put up around growing up in a white supremacist's house, and he does it like there's that again, tying it back to that crying scene where he's like, Rick Flag was right. Like, Peacemaker, what a joke. Like, all of this shit that this character that I've made for myself is a joke. Nobody likes me. I am an asshole. I am a racist. Like, and what I like about that is you're putting your character in a place where he has the opportunity for profound change, and you can play around with that. But then you also have those moments of very real douchebaggery where he's tied the two people up. And the woman's like, you like Cinderella? And he's like, I do like Cinderella. And he's just like, he looks at her. He's like, what are you going to do? Fuck him right now? And John Cena looks at her. He's like, Is that a possibility? Like,
And none of it should be funny because it's such low hanging fruit. Like, I
so
feel like
low hang. Tim, it's on the fucking
so-
ground.
it's
It's not even
so
good.
hanging.
It's
It's
so
just on the
good.
ground.
10 out of 10 times it'll be like a setup for a joke that we all see coming, but like it's the execution of it,
Yeah.
and it's the follow-up to it, and it's everything that just kind of like working together. Another example of that for me is during the fight scene that just breaks out with the woman, the cheetah woman, in the house. And I love the choreography and camera work of it, of like just kind of following John Cena again in his underwear, which is just hilarious. And there's a shot where it's quiet for a second, you just see a wall, and you're like, he's gonna go through the fucking wall,
Yeah.
and then he's thrown
Yeah.
through the wall, and it's fucking hilarious. Like, that is that perfect type of thing where it either works or it doesn't work. And I just feel like James Gunn understands how to make that work, how to make the Berenstein Bears thing work. Like, all these things that we've seen and heard a bazillion times, like he recontextualizes it in a way that like makes it funnier than it's ever been. I don't know. I'm really in love with it.
And that's the thing too, of like, you mentioned the couple getting tied up, Amber and Evan, right? Like, when you get in there, I think any other show that would be they'd be such important characters, but the way they play it, like, I was so into Amber and Evan and like their thing, and like he says I'm like fat in this negligee. I can't see how he would say that. I just said I liked other pajamas. Like, and then the narrative thread throughout of them going to get paid off and pick the wrong guy, and then the after credits scene of her taking the photo and then screaming through the wall. And then the other after credit scene.
Oh shit! I haven't seen any of the after credit scenes. Damn.
Yeah,
they're all great.
Every episode has one.
They're great. And I mean, just the fact that like there's just a hard cut at one point, and then it cuts to him and her in bed, and you're like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
It's just not just him and her.
And then it pans over and Vigilante's there too. You're like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Ridiculous.
I like what we were mentioning earlier. The story is still what's definitely pulling me in, and it's going to keep me there. Not only with what's happening with the butterflies, but with Robert Patrick and the whole white supremacist stuff in the jail, and seeing all these people jailed that kind of follow him and realize, like, at one point, you could tell they're in jail because of him, likely, and he is their leader. And to see the people in the jail react that way, like, that has a lot of weight to it. And I'm really excited to see what the thread is there and how that, because right now James Gunn is just kind of dropping all sorts of little stuff at you that is hopefully going to pay off later on. But it's just exciting that not only is it the butterfly stuff, it's also Robert Patrick and just being an awful like KKK guy. Like, this is, I'm excited to see what happens with that plot line.
And I think that it's cool that he is so good at balancing that type of serious shit that like you can very easily fuck up, but he balances that with just this real fun take on comic books and old comic books. And like, I mean, just look at Peacemaker's outfit, right? Like, how ridiculous it is. Like, that very much is the tone of how James Gunn sees how stupid and silly this all is. But the way that he like weaves in like the idea of canon, even like they joke about canon constantly, like the Wookiees assholes have teeth, like that's canon, man. Like
I love the fact that in episode 2, James Gunn goes out of his way to confirm Batmite in the DCU, right? Of like, who's Batmite? Oh, an interdimensional imp that's obsessed with Batman. It's like, oh my god, that's great.
It's just cool that like he obviously has the passion, the love, the knowledge of all this stuff, but like he weaves that type of shit to build out the DCEU in a totally different way, while still weaving in references to Aquaman and references to Batman, and we know who he's talking about. And it's just like, that's such a hard thing to do, but like, it's just, once again, James Gunn continuing to make like one of the better DCEU properties, and like this kind of corner of it that doesn't work against the stuff. Like, I think that's the best thing, is it still celebrates the DCEU movies. It's not like saying fuck you to them, which I think would have been the easier route to take, like the more cynical comedy.
You can see this existing in that universe. Like, it doesn't feel out of touch for that universe. Which
it's still weird to me, though. I mean, like, not to tread all the way back to like the origins of the DCEU, but this does seem like this seems more Deadpool to me than it. This seems like it should belong more in the Marvel universe to me for some reason still. But I do love that DC and Warner has given them license to include a line like Aquaman fucks fish. And they're like, cool, we're just gonna let him.
It's so
we're gonna
good.
let him do what did he say? He's like, wow, he's out there fucking sturgeon or something.
That's just a great word to choose
Sturgeon
right
is
there.
a great word.
Like, sturgeon is the perfect fish. Either that or like marlin or something. But like,
it's too big, Andy.
I think he just has such a great sense of what's going to be funny. I will say though, Vigilante not working for me so far. And
He's a
Nick,
lot.
really?
Nick
He is a
said
lot.
it.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Nick
I
nailed
had
it.
listed him in my on my thing when they introduced him as just Adrian at the restaurant. I was like, I don't like this guy. But then once I put it together of that's Vigilante, I was in, and I love it. I loved again the whole conversation introduction to him. Yeah, when he interrupts John Cena crying and it goes on too long. But then there's the whole Louis C.K. bit because he's a ginger. What don't you read the news? No, it's too depressing. It just goes on like that. But then I loved it when they pulled off his mask at the torture scene.
Yeah.
And what are you doing with your face? He said, if I keep doing this, he won't know my secret. He won't be able to identify me. I was like, oh my God,
That's
is
so
super
funny.
Like a quarter of what he's doing, I'm into.
Yeah,
But a lot
it's
of
too much.
I think
sometimes.
Nick nailed it with this feels like Deadpool, where he kind of just feels like he's doing a Deadpool impression.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is either the delivery or the tone of voice and also the jokes. But again, John Cena makes it work somehow, and having that back and forth and having this weird sort of relationship, like the sequence in the forest where they just kind of go release their stress and just start shooting a bunch of shit. That's James Gunn making just a stupid ass sequence and making it great and so fun to visually watch. But so far, Vigilante, I'm not in on, and I hope he grows on me because that's the character that I would normally really like, and I don't know if it's maybe just the portrayal, or not that I know who the fuck Vigilante is, but
Yeah.
I think just like the
I was
line
such a huge
delivery.
Vigilante fan. They really didn't nail the
I
character.
think just the delivery and the lines that he's given is not working for me like I had hoped it would.
I feel.
I want to say real quick that we've talked way too long without showing some goddamn respect to Eagly. Like
When he
he
hugs him.
God,
is
dude,
incredible.
when he hugs him, I almost lost my shit. And it just it doesn't miss. Every time all the interactions with him are phenomenal. And I thought it'd be too much, but it's not. When he's hanging
not.
out of the car window and his little tongue's going, and it's like there's no reason that would happen, but I fucking love it.
I really, really enjoy him. I enjoy his use of fire. He better not die. That it will not be okay. I love
100%.
ending.
Don't do this.
Yeah, I love ending the theme song with him just kind of like doing a ta-da. Like it's so great. And I also
Then he
love
breathes. I like that too. Like he was
the
actually
whole-
a dancer. They're like,
yeah. I love the whole storyline with the dogs. It's like he just really loves wearing the clothes. Like
God,
it's
that's
so
funny.
stupid.
I see. I think we haven't talked really about the hardcore character, but I think, damn it, I had the page pulled up.
Wait, real
And I went to
quick,
Robert Lee's page.
Go
Go
for it,
ahead.
Kev.
I was gonna say one more thing about Eagly, but I lost it. I don't know where to.
I
Oh,
was gonna
no,
say-
no. The first episode where he does the sonic boom, there was a moment where it was like, and they faked this out, right? Because he drops the pheasant for
Yeah.
him to eat.
Possum.
But there was that moment. Was it a possum? Anyways, there's that moment where
Very
we
different.
think he's dead. Me and Paul got upset. We got upset for like 10 seconds.
For
and then
me,
it's
it was
revealed.
a-
It's like, thank God.
in episode 2, they kind of faked us out too, where I thought he got shot when they were running to the car. Like he cacaws at one point, and I was like, and then I think I'm sorry, Tasty Danielle, the actress, goes, "Damn!" I thought, like, oh, did he just get shot? Did they just shoot Eagly?
Yeah. And I was going to give a shout out to Jennifer Holland's character in this, which I think she kind of plays the audience where she's kind of charged with the role of being like, all of this is absurd. Get in the fucking car. Like, what are you doing? What's happening? Alongside the guy that plays Mern. I think he
boy
does a great
Chuck.
job too. I think he does
His
a great
friend's
job.
husband.
Yeah, but I see where Andy's coming from with Vigilante. I think it's less the actor Andy and more just the James Gunn mentality of like, let's throw everything in here and it's like a buffet. You just you take what you want from it, and the rest of it maybe you don't want so much. And I'll agree that I think that he's one of those characters I'm like, this is getting a little cringy sometimes with the back and forth, some of the improv. I wish they'd have cut that down a little bit. But in other I mean, and same with some of the other instances where like the Dick Vampire stuff, some of that stuff just didn't work for me. Where I'm like, all right, we're letting him keep going, but that same criticism can be said for every single James Gunn movie that he's made so far. Like I never liked the taser face joke, for instance. That's just never been something that's funny to me, and that went on for so long. I would have cut that part.
The thing here, the Dick Vampire thing too, is like they've done such a great job of introducing Peacemaker and easing us into it that even when he's having a dick face or a Dick Vampire conversation, I'm like, this is in line with who he is, and I enjoy that part of it. Whereas Taserface always felt out of Taserface always felt out of place, and then it
Forced.
also didn't feel funny.
Yeah.
Even when Rocket's reaction was to laugh so hard at it, it was like, Well, we're in a world where
Yeah.
we're talking about Star-Lord and all these different weird names. Like Taserface doesn't immediately, me as an audience member, make me laugh.
No.
And I guess I think less about that because that's approximately 4 minutes, maybe 3 minutes in a 2.5 hour long movie. So I think a little bit less about those 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
So that doesn't affect me as much. But I think when we get those jokes that go on too long, they're a lot more noticeable in 40-minute chunks. And and I think that I guess that's about it. That's all I have to say. They're just more noticeable to me. Whenever we get those jokes that aren't necessarily working, it's like maybe those jokes also wouldn't have worked in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, but I loved that cast so much, and I love the delivery of their lines so much that maybe they did work there because I just appreciated that cast and crew a lot more.
I think that like what Greg's saying is totally right. Like him having the monologue about the butt baby, like
That was great.
Makes the conversation of the dick vampire. God, it backs it up 100%. So it's for me. It's while it's not the funniest joke.
Right.
I enjoyed the first bit of it, and by the time it was over, like it hadn't annoyed me to the point where I was like, all right, this is getting old.
And
You
I
know,
really
it's
think-
just-
I also just want to say really cool to see Lachlan Monroe as Larry Fitzgibbon, who's the cop, because I was like, oh, that's the guy from Night at the Roxbury.
Oh my God, you're right.
I just had one of those like, I haven't seen this guy in forever. Good for him.
For me, he's from Scary Movie. That's what I always think.
Yes.
Of, where the parody of Scream or whatever. I was like, oh, yeah.
And you know what's funny? It's like that's one of the moments in the show where I was like, I hope this hits. And those two had great back and forth. Him and his partner when they go to interrogate Robert Patrick, and he's just throwing out horrible slurs, and she's just cutting him right back down. I'm like, this back and forth is good. I think that the casting was great on that. I think those two have great chemistry as far as like her sort of being like the straight person and him being sort of like the kind of what the heck's going on here. That hit for me. But I mean, I what's up, Kev?
I was just saying, her calling him a fork at the end, like that little
Why
back
not
and
call a
forth of
spoon?
like, why not a spoon? It's like so many cultures have spoons. Very funny.
Yeah, that
He
was
doesn't know
good.
that.
And shout out to the old man who's like, "Fuck you, old man."
He's great.
Just trim of the edges. Yeah, no, I'm definitely looking forward to the rest of the stuff, and like it's just James Gunn just has now developed that wonderful style where it's like everything in the kitchen sink, and you're either in or you're not on these, and I just appreciate the fact that HBO and Warner just let him be him and took any of the restraints off and were like, just go for it, man. Because as much as I didn't love the butt baby joke or the dick vampire joke, at least like those still go toward playing toward the character of being a douchebag. So at least it still backs up something in the story, which is good. And then of course I just laughed my ass out when Eagly fucking hugged him. I was like, this is so funny and
Oh my
also kind
God.
of endearing and heartfelt.
Yeah.
And that's just James Gunn right there.
And that's the thing for me is like episode 1 was like perfect for me, and 2 and 3 I think I liked less so because I just not only think episode 1 was so strong, but the way it ended and having that big sort of explosion moment and the sonic boom, that was
Yeah.
To show
such
you
a
the scale, right? Like what could happen in this show.
yes,
the cop's like, "Is
that
this
was
pizza?"
such a The Boys moment for
Yeah,
me. Having a crazy, we're talking about Huey exploding the translucent man and being like, what the fuck is this show right now? I have no idea what's happening. Who was that woman? Like, what the hell's happening? And since then, I'm still really, really stoked about the story and what's happening with these butterflies and what's happening with Robert Patrick's character, but still not super stoked about the rest of the supporting cast so far, unfortunately.
Well, we're going to be doing these kind of funny screencasts for the rest of the episodes right here, youtube.com/kindoffunny, all the other places you already know. I think the plan right now is to post them every Thursday around noon, so stay tuned for that. The show comes out on Wednesdays at midnight, so it's always kind of a hard thing to plan around, but we appreciate you all. Let us know in the comments below what you thought about the show, and remember to write into kindoffunny.com/screencast for all of your questions, thoughts, and theories. Until next week, I love you all. Goodbye.